Through this whole evolution of pans. I started off using, just like a lot of people do, just like cheap Teflon stuff you get from Target or something like that, and you wind up using it for a while and throwing it away after a little while. It does the off-gassing thing. The Teflon starts to chip, and eventually you just get another one, and then it starts to dawn on you that it might not be the greatest thing to use. So I went from there to like Calphalon. Somebody told me Calphalon's pretty good, and Calphalon is okay for certain things. And then the gold standard of pans in a lot of restaurants and a lot of homes is All-Clad. I got nothing really against All-Clad, but I find that you really have to use way too much oil in order for foods not really to stick. Now sometimes you want that sticking to deglaze it, and you get the fond and all that kind of fancy cooking. But I eventually rolled around to cast iron, and cast iron has this long venerable history. It's been around a very long time. Some of these pans are literally hundreds of years old, and I just found that food just tastes better. I mean, cooking is more enjoyable. It's just all around better with cast iron. And so I started collecting pans, and they cost nothing. I mean, you can get some of these pans I picked up at garage sales for like a quarter or something like that. Even if you buy a new one from Lodge, but from Amazon or something like that, it's just like you can find. In fact, I got this this large one here from Amazon. I think it was $15. I mean, it's just crazy. I think it's a 14-inch or 15-inch pan. It's like a manhole cover. It is an absolutely fantastic pan. The best way to use a lot of these pans is you want to heat them up first. You want to just blast them on high heat, get them very, very hot, then put food in them. And that process makes food not stick. Now, a lot of the reasons I think people don't use cast iron is this whole concept of seasoning. A lot of pans you buy nowadays actually come pre-seasoned. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not, but it's extremely easy to season a pan. Some people tell you got to put oil in it and bake it in the oven and so it gets all the pores and all that. I don't bother. Mine is a process that every time you use the pan, you just you rinse it out under very hot water with a scrub brush. Never use soap on it, and you simply put a couple of drops of oil, heat it up, and rub it around with a paper towel. We're going to demonstrate that in a minute, but that's the way to season a pan. I want to demonstrate what a beautiful job this does on a crust of salmon. We're going to put a piece of salmon in this pan and watch what happens. We're going to be right back. You can see this pan, it's like shiny and a little bit oily. It almost looks really nonstick. It is really nonstick. And the reason it's really nonstick is because I season it every time, okay? Now, I'm going to just demonstrate how I just do a salmon very quickly. Now, when you use cast iron, it's very important to get it really hot before you begin cooking something. So I've turned on the heat on high. I'm just going to let it get really hot while I give this salmon a little bit of treatment here. And the treatment is one of my favorite things to do. It's ground coriander. And coriander, once it hits a hot pan full of a little bit of oil, it does something magical. It's really, really nice. So I'm going to liberally put some coriander on here like this. And it may look like too much to a lot of people, but once you taste this, you would quickly see. This is just black pepper. I have a lot of that. I'm going to kind of press it in so that it stays there. And I actually rubbed the piece of salmon with some olive oil before, just so it sticks a little better. This is salt. It's a flavored salt that I made a little while ago. I think it's yuzu salt, some kind of citrus salt. So I've got a little bit of salt, pepper, and lots of coriander. And I'm pressing it in, yeah? Okay. Now, meanwhile, this pan has been on high for, I don't know, a minute or two. So it's definitely getting pretty hot. It's ready for me to add a little bit of olive oil. So in it goes. It should start to shimmer, which it does. Now that may look like a lot of oil, but when you use ground spices like that, they really kind of need that oil. So it's, don't worry about it. There we go. And I'm going to let that get a little bit hotter. We want it to be nice and hot so that it sizzles when it goes in. And you can almost tell by the sheen. Like I'm looking at this, and there's a kind of like a mirage type wavy thing that's going on. So that's really nice. I think it's pretty ready. So in it goes. All right, well, this is smelling amazing, and I think it's done. Let's just give it a little peek. Oh yeah, bottom skin is nice and crispy. We're gonna definitely eat the skin. A lot of people don't eat salmon skin. We do. So there it is. Really needs very little else. You might serve it with a salad, you know, some rice, something like that. I like to just squeeze a little Meyer lemon over it just to give it that little, you know, get that seed out of there. And that is the dish. I mean, it's that simple. But the point is, this lovely, lovely pan. Now, it's still smoking. It's got a little bit of oil in it. We're going to let it cool down, and then I'm going to show you how to clean it. All right, I'm going to show you how to clean this thing now. So all we do is we just take it over to the sink, get some hot water going, take a little brush like this from IKEA, costs $1, whatever, you know, just kind of scrub it around. Everything comes right off. It's very much non-stick. It's still a little warm, that's why I have this pot holder here. So then I'm just going to heat it up a little bit. There we go. Get it nice and hot again. And we want to get rid of all the water. If you left water in there just sort of overnight or something, cast iron will rust, and rust is the enemy of cast iron. You don't want rust in it at all. So I just sort of, you know, just kind of blotted the water out of there a little bit. Now, the last step we do into seasoning it is take a few drops of some kind of neutral oil. You could use canola oil. Right now I'm using walnut oil. I like walnut oil. And I'm putting about, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 drops, something like that. Pan is nice and hot, and I'm just going to take this same paper towel and just swish it around. Turn off the heat. That's plenty hot. And that's it. You have this magic non-stick pan that is just going to go forever. And you know, it is the king of cookware. I really hope that you get to know and use cast iron because it's the best.
When I arrive in my old set of clothes,